There is something horrible in the biohazard waste bags at the doctor's office I work at. I'm pretty sure they're hiding human remains in them. It was 6 o'clock on a Friday, and Dr. Gruber was asking me to stay late. The biomedical waste needs to be picked up tonight. That stuff can't sit here all weekend. With all due respect, Dr. Gruber, that's not my fucking problem. Can you stay until they come pick it up? Oh, no, I'll pay you overtime. Overtime and a half. Fuck, okay. But if they're not here by 8, I'm leaving. Thank you. So much. Being in an OB/GYN office was the last place I'd want to be on a weekend night. Well, not the last place. Being in a tent in the Ozarks, leaking rain, in the middle of bear country, with no working toilets for miles was worse. Like our 5-year anniversary trip. But this office was probably the next worst thing. Waiting for the biohazard disposal guys was even worse, because now I was picturing all the stuff contained in those bags. Oh no, it wasn't just needles and swabs. We just had a woman come in last week, 6 days postpartum, complaining of a golf ball-sized blood clot hanging out of her vagina. Her description was, unfortunately, extremely accurate. So, anyway, me, and the nasty stuff, all alone in the office. At least we had Wi-Fi. I sat down at the front desk and pulled out my phone, scrolling aimlessly through TikTok. But only a few minutes had gone by when I heard a door slam from somewhere inside the office. I stood up, clutching my phone. Hello? I scanned the hallway, leading to the exam rooms. All the doors were open, lights on, except for one. Maybe the medical waste guy is already here? I'd gone to my car to get my phone charger, about 10 minutes ago. Maybe he'd somehow come in when I was out. I hadn't locked up the office yet. Maybe he let himself in. I walked down the hallway and stood outside the door. Who's there? I called. Silence. I turned the knob and slowly pushed the door open. No one was there. The bed was empty, clean paper pulled down over the upholstery. The fluorescent light flickered lazily overhead. A few drops of water dripped from the tap. I sighed, turned the tap all the way off, and walked back over to the front desk, plopped down in the chair, pulled up TikTok. But a few minutes later, I heard something else. A little thump, barely audible, coming from the waiting room. I frowned, stood up, and looked through the glass. But the waiting room was empty. Everything was as it should be. The fake ficus in the corner, the gross beige chairs, the splattery modern art hanging on the walls. I sighed and called the number Dr. Gruber had left for the waste removal guys. They assured me that they would be here within the hour, which meant we'd still make our 8 o'clock reservation. Cool. I'd expected this to turn into a multi-hour disaster, but it seemed like people were being competent, for once. I headed to the bathroom to fix my makeup. My husband and I had planned a date night tonight. We'd been empty nesters for a month now, with my youngest finally flying the coop and moving upstate. Don't get me wrong, I love my kids to death, but after 20 years of 3 boys trampling through the house, I needed a break. I leaned in close to the mirror and applied an extra layer of eyeliner. Then I texted Rob, letting him know I might be a little late. Then I lifted the toilet lid to pee. Oh, gross. The toilet was filled with blood. For Pete's sake, people always talk about how men are disgusting. But, what? Not flushing the toilet after you pee with your period? The entire bathroom stank of metallic blood and something rotten. My stomach lurched. Holding my breath, I leaned over to flush the toilet, and then I ran out of the bathroom as fast as I could. Gross. I sat back down at the front desk. I shut, breathing in deep breaths of fresh air. Finally, when the nausea subsided, I opened my eyes. I froze. The waiting room was no longer empty. There was a woman, sitting in the far corner, facing away from me. Her long, black hair cascading down the back of the seat, her legs crossed neatly in front of her. For some reason, my heart began to pound. I approached the window and slid it open. Are you from Apex Waste Removal? No response. We're closed. I called out. But if you want to make an appointment for next week, I can help you do that. The woman didn't turn around. She didn't react in any way at all. She just sat there, perfectly still, turned away from me. Chills ran down my spine. The alarm bells were going off in my head. Something isn't right. I ducked away from the window, over to the door between the waiting room and the office, and locked it. I walked back over to the window. I'm sorry, my breath caught in my throat. No one was there. I started to close the window, and that's when I noticed the paper. It was one of our patient intake forms. The kind we gave to new patients, asking about pre-existing conditions, previous births, etc. But instead of being filled out, there was just one word written in the space for the patient's name. Beware. My throat went dry. Is that a threat? Beware of what? I stood there, tapping my hands on the counter. Then I pulled out my phone and called Rob. Hey, can you come to my office? I asked, scanning the waiting room. I guess, he replied. Everything okay? It's nothing, I said, forcing a laugh. There was just this woman in the waiting room, and she was kind of creeping me out a bit. I don't really want to be here alone, so I thought, maybe you could stay here with me until the waste guys come? Sure, he said. I'll be there in 20 minutes. I ended the call, glanced to the door to make sure it was locked, then went back to TikTok, waiting for Rob. After 5 minutes I decided to get up and stretch a little. As I did a final scan of the waiting room. That's when I realized the woman had never left. She was crouched behind the fake ficus, dark hair falling over her face, blending with the shadows, hands pressed to the floor in a sort of leapfrog crouch, still as a statue, completely naked. What the actual fuck? I ran down the hallway, back into the office, towards the exam rooms. Raced into exam room 2, slammed the door shut, and wedged the chair against it. I cowered against the back wall and pulled out my phone. She's still here, I whispered when Rob picked up. She's still here. What? Are you okay? I'm locked in an exam room, but, call the police. There's something really wrong. I think she. My voice was cut off by a strange, What splat sound? Coming from inside the room. The phone fell out of my hand. I turned towards the direction of the sound. What the? My mind went blank as I stared at the biohazard waste bag hanging on the wall. It was moving. Something was moving inside the bag. My stomach turned as I pictured a rat climbing inside, attracted by the smell of blood and waste. But it couldn't be, because it looked like protuberances, fingers, stretching the plastic, testing the strength of the bag, as if trying to get out. What the fuck? My phone rang on the floor. I scrambled to pick it up. The police are on their way, okay? Rob said, his voice panicked. Are you somewhere safe? I'm still locked in an exam room, I whispered. Thump. The entire bag shuddered with motion, slapping against the wall behind it, as if whatever was inside was now wildly thrashing. A wave of nausea and I forced myself to look away, turning towards the exam bed. Oh, God. The woman, she was sitting on the bed, turned away from me, wearing nothing but a hospital gown. Blood trickled down her back, matting her hair, dripping onto the paper. I backed away, hitting the wall. Please, I whispered. Please, don't. I didn't expect her to respond, but she did. First, a low whisper. 3 words. Open the bag. Please don't. Open the bag. I can't. Open the bag. Her voice was guttural and low, as if she were talking from vocal cords ripped and ravaged, half severed. I let out a sob. Her head began to swivel towards me. It was only attached to her neck by a thin strip of flesh. Open the bag, she said again. Her cheek, her ear, now visible to me. Her head tilted horribly wrong on her neck, threatening to slip off at any second. I reached up with shaking hands towards the biohazard bag. Rob was screaming for me from the phone on the floor, but I couldn't move, couldn't pick it up. All I could do was grab the bag from the wall. It was no longer moving, and pull it open. No, among the used syringes, the cotton swabs, was a severed finger. When I'd stopped screaming, the woman was gone. The finger belonged to a young woman in her 20s named Erica Howard. She was a patient of Dr. Gruber's, a patient who had been inappropriately touched during an exam, who had threatened to go to the police. He had murdered her 3 days ago. He had placed her remains in various biomedical waste bins inside the office early this morning, before anyone else had arrived, hoping they would get disposed of with no one noticing. That's why he was adamant they got disposed of on Friday, and didn't sit there all weekend. I'm glad Dr. Gruber is being brought to justice, but I still can't scrub the image out of my head, of the woman sitting on the exam bed, her head lolling back towards me, her guttural voice telling me to open the bag, and the bloody, severed finger. I changed my mind. I don't want to be an empty nester anymore. I don't want to be alone in the house when Rob has an errand to run or works late. I want to be surrounded by as many people as possible, all the time. I never want to be alone again.